Good morning. We'll call the meeting to order. Just a note that meetings are recorded and may be posted on the Wheatland County website and/or via social media. We have an agenda before us. Does anybody have any additions?
Good morning, Madam Reeve. We do have a couple of additions here. So under new business arising, 2.2.2, we're just looking for some dates for Wheatland County Council to informally meet Drumheller Council. There was a request from them. And then we just have some other, under that same section, new business arising, just some various dates for ratification.
Put a Drumheller Council meet and greet under 2.22, ratifying attendance under 2.23. We can also discuss AUMA attendance at under 2.23.
And then we also have one other additional fire capital, or an in-camera for Fire Capital Committee.
Okay. Do that under 6.
Add to the ratification attendance, February 19th, SEWA, February 26th, SEWA, February 11th, fire debrief.
We'll just do that under 2.2, if that's okay. Yeah.
And yours, Reeve. And then I have a additional in camera, council communication.
A closed session. Any other additions or changes?
I'll move the agenda as amended.
Councillor Armstrong has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. We had the minutes circulated from our regular council meeting of February 18th. Anybody see any errors or omissions? A motion to approve. Councillor Bigger has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. We also had the minutes of the public hearing from February 4th for bylaw 2019-32 and 2019-37. Councillor Eichert has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. There's also minutes from the public hearings from February 18th for bylaw 2019-30-05 and -06.
I'll move to approve.
Councillor Wilson has moved to approve. All in favor? Motion is carried. I move that the process for the Wheatland County Council meeting as it pertains to the scheduled public hearings will be as follows. Public hearing, first reading if required, then consideration for further readings of the bylaw for those public hearings that have been closed. I further move that the above process will take place with the absence of resolutions to go into and out of council before and after each public hearing. All in favor? Motion is carried. I'll call the public hearing for bylaw 2019-35 to order. Welcome everybody. Does any member of the public have an objection to any councillor sitting on council for the public hearing? And can you verify that circulation was done in accordance with the MGA?
It was, yes.
And are there any written submissions other than what's been circulated?
There were no written submissions for bylaw 2019-35.
Perfect, thank you.
So this bylaw is to redesignate 0.17 acres of Block 3 Plan 6742BQ from Public Utility District to Parks and Rec. This was within the hamlet of Rosebud, just on the corner of Comstock Street and Martin Ave. So a gazebo was constructed by residents of Rosebud on a county-owned parcel adjacent to the subject parcel. You can see it up on the map there. That red building is the gazebo. And you can see that little bit of encroachment there. The yellow parcel is owned by TELUS. So in order to resolve the encroachment issue, County Council approved the budget necessary to allow administration to enter discussions with TELUS to purchase that portion of land. So the negotiations concluded in late 2019, which enabled the county to submit an application to redesignate that .17 acres to Parks and Rec District in order to accommodate a future subdivision and consolidation within to the adjacent county parcel. The application aligns with the objectives and policies of the South Saskatchewan Regional Plan, the Regional Growth Management Strategy, and the Municipal Development Plan. The existing development aligns with the Parks and Recreation District of the Land Use Bylaw. There were no concerns raised by external agencies nor internal departments, and letters were sent to adjacent landowners, and no concerns or comments were submitted. Thank you very much. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Is there any member of the public that would like to speak? Any questions? Thank you. We will close the public hearing for bylaw 2019-35. Consideration of further readings.
I'll move second reading.
Councillor Wilson has moved second reading. Questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Councillor Armstrong has moved third reading. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. We'll open the public hearing for 2020 or bylaw 2020-10.
So bylaw 2020-10 is a bylaw to redesignate 128.74 acres of Plan 081-3350, Block 1, Lot 1, from Industrial General District to Public Utility District. The Southern Alberta Energy from Waste Association, a nonprofit association, expressed interest in the subject site and shortlisted the county in hosting an energy from waste facility. Based on the high-level information provided by SEWA, staff evaluated the subject site and the potential for hosting the SEWA project and concluded that the best fit for an incinerator and power generating station would fall under the Public Utility District as a utility services major infrastructure or waste management facility major. On February 19th, 2020, SEWA presented the shortlist evaluation results, where Wheatland County ranked as the least preferred site. Though Wheatland County has not been chosen for the EFW facility, staff is still bringing forward the bylaw to redesignate this parcel to Public Utility District. The redesignation to a Public Utility District still supports the county's economic development strategies by allowing essential services and uses that support growth and expansion of an existing community, as well as allowing the existing uses to continue on the subject site. The comments received focused on the specifics of the SEWA development, and staff responded that little information was available and that if the county was chosen, the development permit application would likely answer many of the questions residents were asking. So the two letters, we received, I believe, 5 letters in total, 5 or 6. Those were handed out at the beginning of the session, and then I believe the residents had an opportunity to review them as well. So those were all the comments. For the most part, they were all against the development. They did voice several concerns about the pollutants, the contaminants, and then, of course, the current use of the parcel, how that would impact the current agricultural use. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any member of the public wish to speak in favor of the redesignation? Any member with concerns or opposed to the application that would like to speak? And I'll just ask that any members of the public that would like to speak, if you can just come to the podium and just state your name.
My name is Robert Bollinger, and my family's been farming in this area around this parcel of land for approximately 113 years. And we opposed to this redesignation for various reasons, of course. But if you would like me to read the letter that I sent to the council at first here to clarify what my reasons are?
Did everybody, so the
Has
letter was
everybody read it,
circulated?
or-
It was circulated via email, so we had an opportunity to review it prior to the meeting.
Okay, so everyone has read the letter, and I oppose it on the grounds that, first of all, you'd be breaking a lease or covenant that we've had with the county for a number of years. Like, we would have never have sold this parcel of land to the county if we had thought that you wanted to develop for anything else that was in the first lease contract and the sales contract, which would be only to expand the existing sewage lagoon. So, yeah, we just oppose it on the grounds that, you'd be breaking a lease, that we have a very long-term lease. Not to mention, we would also oppose any development such as waste to energy development, which we didn't agree with that either. So, is there anybody, Isaac, do you have any concerns that you have? Because you're living very close to this parcel of land.
Isaac Bollinger.
Good morning.
I'm just concerned because I'm downwind of it. I'm the nearest resident. I'm just about due east, and garbage smells, and there's going to be garbage coming in there and garbage being stockpiled and garbage being sorted. And I've got a little boy, and I don't want him smelling that. So that's my reason. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else who would like to speak with concerns?
Good morning. I'm here on behalf of Patterson Grain. My name is Jeff Mackwood. I'm in-house counsel from Winnipeg, and I believe we did submit a letter just on Friday. I hope it made its way to you.
Yeah, it's been
Council.
circulated.
So our CEO was very distressed to learn of this waste to energy project. I am cognizant of the unlikelihood that this will advance at this stage, but he still wanted to be on the record in opposition to this development. Quality is a huge concern to our customers, especially these days. It's not uncommon for customers overseas to come and inspect and take a look at sites. And something of this magnitude, whether it's this one or a future one, if this is redesignated, could cause serious issues for our reputation and quality. There's aeration machines that continually suck in air and condition the grain and storage. This is something that we don't have a ton of information on right now, but as a company, our CEO is very discerning in the locations that he chooses to set up. He's invested tens of millions of dollars in this specific terminal, and he'd like to see it continue without this added obstacle. So based on the little information that we have, he did want to stress his opposition to this particular one, and in general, the redesignation that would allow for these other types of major infrastructure to be put in there. So most of what I've said is in the letter, but if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions?
Not at the moment.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Council.
Any other members of the public that would like to speak?
Peter Hoff. I'm, I guess, depending on which way the prevailing wind comes, would be downwind from this site as well. Our farm is about 2.5 miles from the site proposed. I guess most of the points that I would bring up have already been made. I just always concerned when, first of all, when agriculture land is being redesignated, when you have so much of it. Also, its location near a populated area, the town of Gleason. And thirdly, I guess, just smells, odors, potential toxic things in the air too. So I just, I'm opposed as well.
Thank you for your comments. Any other members of the public who would like to speak? Staff have any final comments?
We have no further comments.
Thank you. Any questions?
Just comments, since, and where I stand on the issue, since we are least preferred site out of the four, I don't think it's necessary to rezone this land to public utility. And since there was no present people at the previous redesignation to industrial general, as I believe there's more potential for development if it's industrial general than public utility. You can clarify that? Different kind.
Through the REV, there's different kind of development for different zones. So public utility has a whole other set of intents in terms of potential uses.
Yeah.
Industrial general, right? Public utility obviously was identified as a site for that particular zone that the uses under public utility would benefit the area more so from an economic development and also a public utility use. So there are benefits for a public utility zone for this site.
Just for an example, what kind of development could go on either? Scrolling through the land use, and it's just a large document without bookmarks. So,
I believe we are pulling up the uses right now.
yeah.
Just stand
This
by
big
here and
document
then we can
with no bookmarks.
we can
You
list
guys have to put
the uses for you.
bookmarks in.
Through the chair, the current uses permitted and discretionary that are on the parcel right now are up on the board.
You said this is public utility?
This is under industrial.
Industrial? Thank you. Just to carry on, I think it's very important to look at diversifying the local economy within the county and having ready designated parcels and perhaps even service parcels are very important when bringing in development. And while I appreciate the concerns as a fellow agriculture producer and a close neighbor, 2.5 miles as well, the potential on that intersection is quite high from development standpoint, as we've had discussions around that, and I think it's important to keep it in industrial general. As we can see, there's a few more options on what can go there.
Well, through the chair, what are we looking at here now? Is this the one we're looking at?
That's public utility.
That's public
up now.
utility.
Yes, so that's the current bylaw, is to change it to public utility.
And I'm not gonna get into, I sit on the Sewa project, but I'm not gonna get into it because we weren't picked as the preferred site or the second or the third preferred site, so I'm not even gonna get into that discussion. My question would be that it is a discretionary use, so it would still have to come back to council. It's not a permitted use. I don't have a problem leaving it as the public use. There's, you still need to come back before anything like this in the future was put in there. You would still have to come back to council for the approvals on it. So I don't have a problem. It gives us more latitude to develop that area.
I don't think public use does. I think industrial general, which it is right now, has more ability to diversify the area?
Through the chair, sorry to interrupt. Just a quick correction. It would go to MPC, it wouldn't go to council for decision.
But it would still, okay,
Yeah.
wrong wording, it would still come back here. It's not
It would,
permitted.
yes, and there would be circulation to adjacent landowners as well.
Yeah.
So forgive me because I'm not the, it's Tuesday. Tuesdays are horrible days. If we go with public utility, that's the designated use for public utility.
Yeah.
And right now we've got it industrial, right?
Yeah.
And that's all we can do in public utilities.
That's correct.
We are number 4 on the list. I'm sort of leaning with Councillor Wilson here that I want to leave. I believe there's opportunities there because of the location, the intersection, and
And that being said, there's a development there now, and I think there's a large amount of different commercial industries that can coexist really well with the developments that's there. We have a very large agriculture base around that area, and we can start to target those certain developments to help the ag industry within our own area.
That could be more consistent with the uses that are there.
Exactly.
Any other
So-
questions?
Process-wise,
So we have options presented. Staff is recommending approval of second and third reading. We could refuse second and third reading. We could wait on readings. The MGA says that previous readings of a proposed bylaw will be rescinded if the proposed bylaw does not receive third reading within 2 years after the first reading, or if it's defeated on second or third reading.
I'll just move option 2, that council refuse bylaw 2020.
Let me just close the public hearing
Oh, sorry.
first. Sorry. Any other questions or discussion for the public hearing? I will close the public hearing for bylaw 2020-10. And council can consider our options.
I'll move that council refuse bylaw 2020-10, this being the bylaw to propose amendment land use bylaw number 2016-01 to redesignate 128.74 acres within plan 0813350, block 1, lot 1 from industrial general to public utility district as shown on the attached Schedule A.
There's a motion. Any questions or discussion? The motion is to refuse the proposed bylaw. Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried.
Thanks for coming in, you guys.
Thank you. I will open the public hearing for bylaw 2020-07. Public hearing for the intermunicipal development plan with Village of Standard.
So as per the MGA amendments from April 1st, 2018, all municipalities that share a border were required to enter into an intermunicipal development plan. Previously, the Village of Standard and Wheatland County did not have an IDP. So the plan area with this IDP encompasses approximately 2,155 acres of county land and includes the parcels within the village that are directly adjacent to the intermunicipal boundary. The IDP's land use goals and objectives focus on retaining agriculture and grazing as primary land uses in the county's portion of the plan area, while directing non-agricultural uses to the village's plan area. As there is little development pressure within the plan area, the IDP's policies are high level, focusing on when to notify the other municipality of new development and encouraging collaboration. There is a policy addressing urban expansion. So should the village need to annex land from the county to accommodate growth, it requires consultation to occur prior to the initiation of an application to the province. The policies address all of the MGA required topics while allowing each municipality to retain control within their respective jurisdictions. And there were a couple of clerical errors that will be updated. So on page 11, it quotes Township Road 251. It should be 451. It should be Township Road 251. And then in the definitions, one of the definitions is the intermunicipal border, which isn't actually in the document. The definition should read IDP shared boundary, which is what's listed in the maps. And then the plan area quotes map 2 and it should be map 1. So there's just a couple of clerical errors. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? I'll close the public hearing for bylaw 2020-07. Council's wishes.
Move the recommendation as amended.
First reading.
First reading. Yep.
Questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried.
I'll move second reading.
Questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried.
I'll move approval to proceed to the third and final reading.
All in favor? Motion is carried unanimously.
I'll move fourth. Third.
Third.
Fourth reading?
Third, fifth.
Whatever you need to get it back.
Any questions or discussion?
The
I
opposite
still
of red
think
tape
we're doing that
reduction.
wrong.
Yeah.
Another level here.
All in favor? Motion is carried. I'll open the public hearing for bylaw 2020-08, the IDP, with Drumheller.
So this plan area, IDP plan area encompasses approximately 16,664 acres. The land use goals and objectives focus on retaining agriculture and grazing as the primary land uses, and that non-agricultural development be permitted when appropriate. It also acknowledges the environmentally significant areas and high potential for historic resources. The IDP also acknowledges Drumheller's tourism corridor bylaw, though it doesn't require Wheatland County residents to adhere to it, but simply encourages residents and landowners within the vicinity to maintain their properties to a high standard and to minimize unsightly properties that may deter tourism. The IDP's policies are high level, focusing on when to notify the other municipality of new developments and encouraging collaboration. The policies address all of the MGA required topics while allowing each municipality to retain control within their respective jurisdictions. And as with the standard IDP, there was the minor corrections. So the intermunicipal border definition should read IDP shared boundary. And that was the only one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? We'll close the public hearing for bylaw 2020-08. Council's wishes.
I'll move that council proceed with public hearing for bylaw 2020-08. This being bylaw for the town of Drumheller and Wheatland County. Intermunicipal development plan. Wow.
Questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Second reading.
I'll move second reading, bylaw 2020-08.
Discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Approval to proceed.
I'll move to approval to proceed, sorry.
Councillor Wilson has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried unanimously. Third reading.
Any you want fourth?
Councillor Armstrong has moved third reading. Discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Administration has indicated that they have some agenda items for a planning and priorities session. If everybody has their calendars. Did you have some proposed dates? I don't have them out right now.
I had no proposed dates. However, I would like to schedule it prior to March 31st. March 31st, we have our Wheatland County Annual AGM. So I think it would be a good opportunity to kind of just have a year in review and do some budget review as well, and then other kind of outstanding items. So perhaps the date would be the 25th of March.
The 25th doesn't work.
I could cancel it, I guess.
We could do Monday, March 23rd.
That works for me.
I have it at noon.
You don't need to know how to cook.
The 26th also works as well.
That's perfect.
I'm good that whole week.
No.
We do have appointments scheduled
Okay,
the
well, let me
26th
cancel.
as well.
Monday?
Monday.
Let me cancel Monday.
Are you sure? Sorry.
23rd. Yeah,
March 23rd
These
works
two
for
still might not be able
administration.
to make it, so I mean, who knows?
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we'll start at 9.
Coming here?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll hold it in the committee room. Yeah, that would be one item. Yeah.
Okay, we'll schedule that for Monday, March 23rd. Do you want a motion for that, or
We should have a motion for that.
can somebody? Councillor Armstrong has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. Drumheller Council meet and greet.
To council, so the, in discussions with the town of Drumheller for the intermunicipal collaboration framework, the CAO there just also indicated that their council would like to informally meet with our council, because they want to just have a meet and greet. So just suggestions in terms of who will host either at the town or down here. I think it's just, that council is receptive to the meet and greet, and then if you guys have any times, in April beginning or end or what have you, we can suggest it to the town.
Kim's house is halfway, they can cook.
I'd cook for you, but
But now she can't.
Now she doesn't know how all of a sudden.
Excuse me, I don't think it's a bad idea. We do share some common boundary with them, and we do participate in some of their product,
Yeah, we
their
meet with them.
handy bus, we sit with them on Drumheller solid waste, and I don't think it hurts to.
I did have a great visit with Mayor Colberg
There is a-
several months ago, but it would be good to meet their council for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
We can invite them for lunch to our planning and priorities.
That's it. Up to you. I was thinking more of an informal supper thing.
Supper, okay.
we can go out to Drumheller.
Yeah.
Like, they've got,
Do you want to, I think we're open. Do you want to reach out and maybe get some dates from them? And then we can just
Just a supper meeting kind
send them
of
to
thing?
council. and
Through the
see.
chair, I just asked the staff to further discuss it with them and find out if they're looking for something during a council meeting to get together or something after, and then bring it back. There's no rush,
That'd be great.
so just.
They're looking for either or, doesn't matter. It's very informal, right? So what we can do is we'll get back to the town and just say, we're open to it. If you guys have a time, I would say probably just things are getting busy, so mid-April,
Yeah, we're capping. So.
after Easter, maybe, and then
Great.
figure out a time and then put that forward to council through Brian.
the mayor got nominated for some kind of award, Mayor.
Colberg?
best- Yeah, she got nominated for the best mayor.
Oh, that's
Alberta or
awesome.
something.
I don't know, I never
I had a
heard.
great visit with her at a event that I will not name. And she's mentioned it a few times that she'd love to get together.
Yeah, if you could do that, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Previously, we had discussed my attendance at AUMA. Last September, I wasn't able to attend because of budget meetings that we had already scheduled. So in discussion with administration, we thought it might be a good idea to get a resolution early so that we're not rushing to register and that kind of thing. So on their website, I don't think registration is open yet, but we found dates of September 23rd to 25th in Calgary, I believe. If council wants, I would be happy to attend just to facilitate discussions with our urban partners.
Calgary, would you be looking for?
I would just go in during the day. I don't need overnights, just
You need a motion?
Well,
registration.
there's going to be, you should probably leave it open because there's going to be banquets and all that kind of stuff. And if
When does she
Joe's
drink?
buying drinks over there, it'll be
Yeah,
a
when
good
does she
time.
drink?
Yeah.
She can drive home.
I would be looking for registration probably in per diems, mileage.
Need a motion?
Yeah, we would need a
Also
motion.
with mileage
Per diem.
And just the registration as well.
for AUMA for Amber Lane.
And registration.
And I still say I'll go with if you need to have a room, like,
Okay.
you know.
So are you adding that to the map?
Friendly amendment?
Well, yeah, only because it just, like, if there's a dinner and all that kind of stuff, there's gonna be a lot of networking done at that dinner. And then it's
Do you even know
10
her?
o'clock night.
10 o'clock. She's gonna drive home. Don't give her the option, and she'll drive home.
Okay. Can my friendly amendment?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
So just,
Oh, sorry.
are we just at the attendance or room and attendance?
No, we're
Just
just doing the
attendance.
The motion was just registration per diem and mileage, not a room.
Just for 1 day or 2 days?
I believe it's 23rd to 25th, but I'm not sure where you saw that. I saw it on like other websites, not AUMA.
Yeah, I checked this morning and I believe it's 23rd to 25th, so it would be 3 days. But we could also just address it later. I'm guessing it would be 3, but.
My issue is if you're going to these things, you're going to meet these people, and you do more of that after the session than you do during the sessions. The sessions at times get fairly boring, and that's not what you're going there for. So to me, even though it is close and it's only a half, 3/4 of an hour drive or home, you miss that in the evening and you miss it in the morning. So if we're gonna okay somebody to go to the conference, then I would say you the attendance, and you let them stay the night if they so wish, in case something comes up that they want to stick around, and I don't have an issue with it.
Another friendly amendment? We'll go with
You-
accommodations and then we'll vote on it.
Well, it's not a friendly amendment because it's only friendly if he accepts it.
No, she made the motion.
Or you made the motion.
Yeah.
But to me, if you're going to the conference, I've been to lots of them over not just on council, but going through with the grain growers and Unifarm and all this other, and most of your, you learn stuff at the sessions, but most of your interaction happens after the fact. And if you have a couple of drinks, then you're forcing whoever's there to make a choice whether or not they drive home or not with a drink or two, and then they get caught. I don't agree. I don't agree with that, so.
I honestly trust her judgment.
You could approve accommodation. We could look at the schedule when it comes out, and if there is an evening event or with a following early morning or something, I could exercise
Discretion.
judicious discretion and not abuse public tax funds.
We're not the city of Calgary. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, me either.
Through the Reeve, just for procedural, Councillor Bigger was the one who made the motion, so Councillor Bigger has the option to accept a friendly amendment,
Accept.
and then
Thank you.
goes to vote.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Council and Reeve attendance ratification. Jason, I think you have dates.
Yeah. I'll move that council ratify February 19th SAWA, February 26th SAWA, February 11th fire debriefing, and Reeve Link's attendance for the throne speech and budget the 25th and 27th for mileage and attendance.
Questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Reeves report, it is included in the package. Just a couple of things to note. A few of us did attend a fair deal panel that Minister Leela here coordinated for Cheadle. It was quite well attended and there was a good discussion there. There was 2 of the fair deal panel members that attended to gather feedback and take back to the full panel as well. Fire debriefing in Rosebud went really well. We had a really good presentation by the officers that coordinated the training exercise and some good discussions both with some of our council and administration had some consultants there as well to advise. From the Calgary Metropolitan Board, I did attend the governance committee meeting in Councillor Kester's absence. Probably the most notable discussion was around, we're still grappling with an appeal process. And so administration presented essentially the same options that were presented previously. Basically, we're deciding kind of 2 factors, whether all decisions would be appealable or just the IREF applications. There's mixed feelings on that decision. The other decision would be how the appeal would be conducted. Several options have been presented, everything from it coming back to the board, which I don't consider that a true appeal process, but that's certainly some of the board members' preference. There was an option to ask the Minister of Municipal Affairs to make the decision. That's been, I think, essentially eliminated as a preferred option. The Municipal Government Board appeal could be another option. There are concerns regarding that option in terms of lengthiness of the process and cost. It can cost, the City of Calgary provided a number of, on average, between $300,000 and $400,000 for each appeal to the MGB. Another option that was presented was an arbitrator, like a single arbitrator to make the decision. Through discussion, I think my preference would be the MGB, and we did ask if administration could just look into the possibility of creating kind of a separate tract for growth board appeals to kind of expedite them and potentially streamline it to mitigate some of the cost issues. So just so council's aware of that. To me, this is one of the key issues with the board. It was supposed to be under the regulation created with the inception of the board, and we obviously still don't have that in place. The actual board meeting, they had indicated they had fixed the errors that were in that employment analysis, and ours were certainly not fixed. It was still showing employment in our part of the region at 1,549 jobs, which is approximately double our estimated population in that region. So that's obviously an error. There was a recreation framework that was approved. It's not binding. It will just act as a kind of a suggestion. There was also lengthy discussion. A conflict of interest policy and procedure was presented for board approval that included a clause regarding outside activities that stated members must avoid participating in outside activities that conflict with the interests and work of the CMRB. Members will discuss any potential conflicts with the CMRB chair and or the chief officer. I just bring this to your attention because my concern was that, like, our advocacy regarding the board itself, I think could be construed as counter to that clause. And so I was concerned about potentially violating the conflict of interest policy. That was pulled out and has been sent back to the governance board for further discussion. There were some members who adamantly argued they wanted that included. So just so people are aware, it was.
Can I assume the members are not rural?
They were not rural, no, but there were also non-rural, like there were urban municipalities that recognized our concern with it and obviously supported that concern, so it was pulled out. But yeah, it was an issue of contention there. I attended the Gleason Community Association AGM. And I did drive to Edmonton twice. I accepted an invitation from Speaker Cooper for the throne speech and an invitation from Minister Ahir for the budget release. Those are really good opportunities as well to meet with both cabinet ministers. I met with each of our MLAs, and actually it was a good opportunity. I got to introduce the village mayors to Minister Pon and a couple of her staff. As well, Mayor Fuel was there, so it was good for the 5 of us to be there and to be able to chat with her. We didn't have a lot of time with her, but I tried to make the most of my time. There was receptions after both, and then we also had an opportunity to meet with Minister Madhu after the budget speech and had some fairly in-depth conversations with him, which I was thankful for because I noticed that he had to decline our RMA invitation, so it was a good opportunity. Does anybody have any questions regarding my report?
Yeah, I just have a question on FCM, your appointment. What's the procedure now? What?
So at FCM, I believe following the FCM conference, a new set of committees will be set up, and I believe it's at the president's discretion, the president of FCM. So I will have to put together some kind of package just outlining what committees I might be interested in.
Oh, okay.
And
do you
then-
get a package saying that this is available, or?
I reached out and got a copy of the committees that they have.
Okay.
I can send it out to council. The main ones that I was thinking would probably be the most beneficial to sit on is they have a rural.
How much say do you have in the conference?
I have provided some feedback to Anne-Lisa Jensen, who's our Alberta representative. And I've asked if I could meet with her just to go into a bit more detail about some of the recommendations. She sits on the conference planning committee, but I haven't heard back from her yet.
Sounds better than the party committee.
Yeah.
She really likes the hot tub.
And then,
So it would be at the president's discretion. So the committees that they hold, there's community safety and crime prevention, conference planning, environmental issues and sustainable development, increasing women's participation in municipal government, international relations, municipal finance and intergovernmental, municipal infrastructure and transportation, northern and remote, rural forum, which I thought the rural would probably be like obviously one of the best to try and sit on. Social economic development. I think that's it.
nothing on energy,
It would fall though under, I think, municipal infrastructure and transportation. It doesn't specifically speak to that, though. It more speaks to airports, marine, rail, highway, urban transit, telecom.
I was just curious, and I'm glad you got.
Sorry, 2 other things I forgot to include in my report, our meeting with the SEWA executive delegation. Actually, I think it was scheduled possibly after I did my report. Also, I was really excited to attend Eagle Lake Nurseries had their kickoff to their 50th anniversary celebration. So this year they're celebrating 50 years of business in Wheatland County. So they're planning a big party this summer, and I'm sure hopefully we can all be involved in that. And then I did also just listen in on a conference call with RMA regarding the 2020 provincial budget on February 28th. So not a lot of news. I'm not sure if everybody's had a chance to review it, but essentially the majority of our funding was held from what we could anticipate from the last budget. I did notice that Ag Service Boards has had a cut in their funding. FCSS funding was held steady, library funding was held steady. MSI was as we were to expect. And then of course transitioning into that other, and they've changed the name of MSI. I can't remember the new name of the funding. Policing, they didn't actually discuss it on the conference call too in depth, but just what we were already told to expect with the gradual increases. There was kind of an unexpected increase to the education requisition on behalf of the province. So I know Brian has circulated some information regarding that. That will certainly have an impact. Those are the highlights, I think.
Question, just on that policing, I was reading through the budget, and they mentioned 500 police officers plus clerical.
Oh.
That is in the budget, so we should probably make I don't know what clerical is, but, so I'm not, I mean, I think we have to lobby on that grounds, because if we're gonna spend, we're gonna be spending upwards of $1 million a year by year 5, but we need to get something out of this. We ain't gonna get a police officer out of this,
Exactly.
because there's no way they can train them up, so, but I know I'll go back through it. I think I've got it marked up on the budget.
I did have a note, like for council, I don't know if we want to, I'm not sure that it's resolution worthy or if we just want to send a letter to Minister Schweitzer, but I think our support of the watch clerk should be considered in terms of that funding, similar to an enhanced policing position. And I think one of the Strathmore detachment representatives that was here has like a case study outlining, or like he said he has some information outlining the benefits to that. Maybe we could get a copy of that and send that through to Justice and just
See
ask
what his
for
reaction is, and
consideration.
then go resolution if it doesn't go
Yeah,
through.
yeah, I think maybe I would think the letter first, and then if
Yeah.
we don't get any,
And maybe get that information. Could we maybe have a motion?
Well, I'll make a motion that we send a letter to the Justice Minister asking whether, or clarifying whether,
Or requesting consideration?
requesting consideration for watch clerks being part of the enhanced policing.
Like to be considered as,
Partial funding.
yeah, partial, like, I'm trying to remember how they worded that, like to offset our police funding requisition.
In part contribution. Funding model.
Diane, how does that? I'm sorry. Included as part of our contribution for police funding? Great. That sounds good.
Do we wanna say watch clerk or admin?
Label it.
Yeah, but if we're willing to pay for more than a watch clerk, other admin spots, right? Still going
You could
through
just term it administrative support.
financial support.
Okay, I'm not sure how universal, is watch clerk like a universal?
Term, that's what I'm worried.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
I think
Move
it's
to
pretty
consider
universal in
admin,
Alberta.
Is it? I just don't know. I don't
Yeah.
have the experience.
move to consider admin financial support in lieu of,
We can flesh it out in the letter too, but I think the intent is there. And then I think just we'll request that background information from Strathmore RCMP, because I think that would add some rationale to the request. Because he was talking like 0.6% of a position or something, or 0.6, not percent of a position, so. Any other discussion?
Just a question that's been, ever since this started back, it's been, at the end of the day, are we going to be asked for more than one watch clerk. I'm not talking just about Strathmore, I'm talking about or the other detachments that are affiliated with what's going on.
My feeling is that we are going to, and that's why I'd really like to see if we can
Get some funding for it.
get some funding, like in lieu of, like, if we're gonna put in the, we're putting the 300,000 in this year, that if we can say that we're funding 3 watch clerks, we can take that $180,000 back out
That'd
of
be
the
considered
300,000.
as part of the, that's considered as part of the funding that we put in there.
Not yet,
Yeah, we're putting 300,000.
That's what we're asking.
Yeah,
but we'd much rather put, like, if it comes out of that funding, I'd rather put that into watch clerk so we know it is affecting our area, right?
Yeah. And I think the
I'd
basis
rather
for
put
it.
one in, I'd rather pay for 4, 2 in Strathmore, 1 in Drummond, 1 in Gleason, and then you're guaranteed your at least service, right?
right, yeah.
And the basis for it is, like Justice said, that they were considering the enhanced policing that municipalities were already paying for and kind of offsetting their police requisition from that. So to me, it makes sense to also consider this, especially when you look at the return on investment that the detachment has indicated they're seeing, so.
Yesterday, I had to stop for a police car going past my driveway.
Oh, wow.
That's probably the second time and I've only been out there on and off 50 years.
I've had to avoid a road because they keep going down gravel roads in the middle of the night.
They go by my place about once every 2 weeks. They have for,
The correction line's lined with them at like 3 in the morning. It's really hard to get home.
Any further discussion regarding the motion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Any other questions regarding my report?
But then they don't really like it when you drive past them and honk the horn when they're in the ditch because they didn't know there was a curve there.
I'll move my report. All in favor? Motion is carried.
I'll move Deputy Reeves' report.
And my apologies, I meant to mention at the beginning of the meeting that the Deputy Reeve is
that's right.
away on other council business. And Councillor Kester is also away. My apologies. All in favor of Deputy Reeves' report? Motion is carried. Division 1?
So I'll just read my report here. It's same as your guys's really. Council, MPC, both SAWA meetings I went to, enjoyed visiting with the membership there. And there was one more I wanted to mention. If I can find it. Maybe not. Yeah, maybe that's it. That's it. That's all I had. I was unable to attend the handy bus meeting that Donna did that for me in February. So that's it for me. I'll move my report as read.
Any questions? All in favor? Motion is carried. Division 3?
Okay, well, or I'll give you an update for the post office.
They're
The temporary boxes are in, and Ag Society is working with the other clubs in town to fund the rent of the post office so we can get it back. March 9th will be the posting will be down. Thank the councillors for coming and attending the Rural Crime Town Hall meeting. Also for coming to the Badlands Conference on this week. Our focus group, we've had an organizational meeting. We're getting a little bit more structured. We are going to try to be called the Bull River Trailblazers. We'll see if that works out. So we're going to register the name. And the rest of the stuff you were at, same as me. Yeah. Rocky Mountain GTL was at the Lions meeting that I was at. The manager there lives in Speargrass. Yeah, got to hear more about the company. they're a little bit more delayed than March. Remember, it was March they had told us. They're going to be a little bit more after that. Yeah, and that's about it. I'll move my report as read.
Any questions? All in favor? Motion is carried. Division 4.
I think everything has been covered. The only thing I think I did different than anybody else did, I attended ASHA in High River, and it's to do with the lodges and social housing and that kind of stuff. And as in everything's getting tighter. But I did have a very good discussion with the West Winds. That's the Okotoks, Foothills area, and they are just transitioned. They have just, I don't think it's finished, but it's almost finished. They've just finished a 60-suite social housing apartment complex, and they have sold they had a bunch of standalone, and they're running into exactly the same stuff we're running into at the Wheatland Housing Board. Is the upkeep of these units is so horribly expensive that because everything's getting older, they came across, but I've been in brief discussions with the CAO of West Winds, just to see how they went about it. They somehow owned their property, like they're standalones, as opposed to the Wheatland Housing manages for the Treasury Board. So I'm in the process of trying to find out whether the Treasury Board would swap assets, so to speak. They'd still have the asset, just that we'd have to build the new asset, finance it interim until people moved in, and then we could start selling off the standalone assets, because it makes sense. So that may be why it'll never happen. But like we have 20 units that we manage for social housing, and those 20 units, if we could get the count or the Treasury to swap assets, just say instead of 20 units, we could build a 30-unit standalone or single apartment structure, so that would increase the amount of social housing we have, and then those units that are existing there would actually transition into affordable housing, because they are of the age that unfortunately they can't be. You try to upkeep them as much as you can, but the upkeep on these bills, so they'd go into either affordable housing, or somebody would buy them and they would rent them at a cheaper rate than what so it is a win-win. So just trying to see if we can get a meeting with somebody from Treasury to see if they look at that. So that's what I took away from that, the ASHA meeting. So with that, I will move my report.
Any questions?
Just a comment, that sounds like a great idea. Not very often can the government increase services at a lower cost. I would hope that all board members, especially Wheatland County board members, help push that cause on that board.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Motion is carried. Division 6. Move to Division 7.
Yeah, thank you. It's on on the website. I'd like to make one change, though. I'm sorry. I got a little quick on my writing. On the February 19th Stable Board meeting at the county office, where it says unanimous vote to accept the location west of Newell, I'd like to change that, because it was a unanimous vote, but it wasn't for the board to accept it. It was only for the board to accept HDR's report of the site. There may be issues coming down the road where that ends up not being the preferred site, and this is saying that the board has accepted it as a preferred site. We've accepted the engineer's report, and the report is designating Newell site as a preferred site. So I don't know how you want to word that in there, but it was a unanimous vote. But there was some question at that meeting because of that, and If I wasn't on the board, I wouldn't worry about it so much, but being on the board, I would like that to state that it was HDR's report. That the rest of it is, we had good meetings down at the bottom with the councils. Funny because the meeting with Vulcan had basically a lot of the same questions Sweetland did. And when we met with Newell, and the Solid Waste Commission was there also because it is on their land. And there needs to be some subdivision done there, and there needs to be some other work done. We're moving in that direction now, but they didn't have any of the negative questions that the other two had. But as I told them at the end that they, because they were asking what they needed to do, and I said, well, you got to understand that this is a preferred site, but it's not the only site. So if something happens in the interim, we could end up on another site. So because the whole association was there, their Newell Landfill Association plus the council, I made sure they understood that if they didn't work together to make this happen, it very possibly could be moved somewhere else because it was very good sites. Or anymore, there's three. There is 3 good sites. But anyways, that's my report with that change.
You believe in the quote down? Is it a bad thing or a good thing to stay childish?
I don't know. It's just a quote that I found in a paper I was reading. Everybody does outgrow childhood, but some people never outgrow childish behavior. Good thing or bad thing? I don't know. It depends on the circumstance, I guess.
Depending on the childish
Depends on
behavior.
which behavior, exactly.
Ask your mother.
You move to approve your report with the note for the SEWA meeting.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Fine.
All in favor? Motion is carried.
Can we get a 10-minute break or a 5-minute break?
5-minute
Sure.
break, Brian.
We will take a 5-minute break. We will come back at 10:15. We'll call the meeting back to order. We'll move to 4.1, Chief Administrative Officer Report.
Good morning, Council. On page 184 of your agenda package is the CAO report. Just a couple things to note. Administration is working with GFL and Alberta Environment and Parks on the GFL removal plan. So that removal plan will entail that all the legacy materials will be moved off the site. There is a court order in place currently that all materials must be moved off site by June 30th. So that's one thing we're looking forward to. I also had a meeting with our benefit provider, so Health and Dental. Out of that meeting in mid-February came some very good news. So they went out to market, and they do that every couple of years. So this year they had some very good bids that will actually decrease our benefit costs and maintain the same level of service. So we could expect a savings of an annual savings of approximately $300,000. There were some very good aggressive bids. Service is very comparable. Other things to note, administration is preparing for the AGM on March 31st. That's going to be held in Rockyford. Starts at 7. We're also kind of working through the operating budget as well. So we'll bring something back for council, most likely during the planning and priority session, just kind of a year in review, see kind of where we were in 2019 and where we're going to go in the future. The GM of Corporate and Financial Services, the vacant position has been posted. The position or the posting closed, and we're having interviews on March 20th during that week. So we should have an announcement after that week. There was a fire chiefs meeting on February 27th. That was a very good meeting held. Very happy with the way it's went. And then the Carsline Fire Hall, we're going to be working on giving council some more information at the first meeting in April, kind of like a Gantt chart. So it just kind of shows the process that it's going. So currently, we've done an RFQ for a project manager, so that's closed. We're going to also do an RFQ for design. So the RFQ, just because it's within the limits of 10,000 to 75,000. And then at that point, we're going to do an RFP for construction services. And then on that Gantt chart as well, we're going to show some interdepartmental work. So Public Works is preparing the site for the construction. So some cross-department cost savings there on the construction as well.
Excellent.
And that concludes my report.
Any questions?
Yeah, we're going to go to GFL. Are we currently, like, are we currently fining GFL, like, are we on an ongoing basis? And if not, why not?
So at the current moment, we are not. And the reason why we are not is because they are not in contravention of any order that we have issued. So there was fines issued earlier. The fines were issued due to the non-reporting of the order management plan. It's the air monitoring, sorry. It's in the remedial order. So that wasn't done. So that was issued. Since then, they have provided air monitoring reports to me on a biweekly basis. So that's kind of a moot point. Besides that, there is no other contraventions as of this moment that they have done.
Okay, so when is the legacy pile, the court order said the legacy pile had to be removed by what date?
By June 30th.
Okay,
So
June 30th, okay. So how does that work if we get to June 15th and there's no work there? They can't get it, like, do we
So-
wait until the June 30th and then we start finding them again?
yes, so there are some options that we could take as of July 1. As of June 15th, still not in contravention of any order. So any action that the county may choose to take will be as of July 1. As of July 1, if there's any legacy material still on site, then they're in contravention of both the stop order and the remedial order.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Motion to accept as information.
So moved.
Councillor Wilson has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. Corporate and Financial Services Report.
Yes, Council, on page 186 of your agenda package is the Corporate and Financial Services Report. So a couple interesting things to note this month. So our assessment was finalized on February 28th. So with our total assessment, Wheatland County's assessment was down 3.4%. With that, our non-residential assessment went down 6%, and our residential assessment went up 2.25%. More information will be coming from Dennis Clem, our senior assessor. He does an annual presentation to council during a council meeting, so we'll bring that forward. A couple other things to note. Reeve Link also mentioned during the budget speech the education requisition was released. I did provide some information to council on the education requisition. So this year, unfortunately for Wheatland County, our total education requisition went up about 5%. We did budget about, I think it was 2.5 or 3% in our interim operating budget. So there's a shortfall there that we'll have to make up for at the final budget. So we'll do a presentation to council for that. Our year-end audit is underway, so I believe our financial statement auditors are coming out tomorrow. So all the work was kind of prepared during this last month with that. And then I believe that's about it in corporate services.
Any questions? A motion to accept as information.
I'll move.
Councillor Eichert has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. Community and Development Services Report. Good morning.
Good morning, Council. On page 189 of the agenda package is the Community and Development Services Report for January. The department has been busy. Some salient points just to mention. For community services, the Recreation Culture Master Plan is on track. We are going to begin engaging with the communities on several dates in April. However, first we're going to have a session with council at our March the 24th meeting for an hour. So we will talk about some ideas on how to, push the plan forward and engage with the community. So that will be first and foremost, and then we'll go out to the broader community for an engagement session, multiple engagement sessions. What we are doing actually in economic development, we're working on several different applications. One of them is the in-kind gravel application, which we'll be bringing forward to a planning and priorities meeting for discussion as per a recent motion that was put forward today. For planning and development, we're continuing to work on our IDPs. We are going to be meeting our IDP deadlines with the exception of the extension that was granted at our last council meeting and our intermunicipal collaboration frameworks. We are on track to meet the April 1st deadline and we don't need any extensions. So I will continue to circulate for review to council those ICFs for your review, and I'll be bringing them forward for coming today. Our actuals are also in the report as well. Safety codes, planning applications, and development permits in January. So you can see those year-to-dates. No, not many outliers there to mention. Everything is really trending for the last several years as well. And for protective services, as mentioned, we have adjusted the way we are both tracking, so we're getting more up-to-date data. We're also working on a strategic plan for protective services to incorporate into the Community and Development Services Department now, talking about our different reporting structures to council, ways we're going to engage the community, 7-day-a-week rotation, so we're more visible out in the broader community. And we're going to be tracking different kind of movements that we're hearing from upper levels of government, bringing that forward, you know, broader enforcement powers and all of that, because those are broader conversations that we're beginning to see kind of materialize. So that's part of our strategy moving forward. And I'll take any questions.
Any questions regarding community and development services?
To accept.
Councillor Bigger has moved to accept his information. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. We have an intermunicipal collaboration framework with Vulcan County.
On page 197 of your agenda package is the RFD and supplementary attachment for an ICF between Vulcan County and Wheatland County. It ensures that we're meeting our time phrase of the April 1st deadline, and there's nothing much that stands out in terms of this ICF. Everything is rather status quo, rule to rule.
At the end of the day, these things all go on the shelf and collect dust.
Yep.
Through the chair, they are fluid documents, so we can revisit them at any time council wishes.
No, they collect dust, man.
Oh, that's a politician's answer.
A lot of work.
Just for your information, on page 205 of the Vulcan one, that grain terminal is in Vulcan. On page whatever, on the Foothills one, it's exactly the same picture, and that one is not in Foothills. So I'm just thinking that we should probably have good pictures that are
Current to the.
current, right? Just
Does it really matter?
Well, yeah. If I was in Foothills and I saw that, or if I was in Vulcan and I saw Foothills taking credit for
There's
it.
another one in Vulcan that isn't in there.
Freaking
Well, no,
Strathmore
but
takes
they're-
our shrimp farm all the time.
Oh, I know.
It's
just that-
representative of the activity
Exactly.
in
so
the
it-
region.
It just shows.
I'll
yeah,
move
you
that
can-
we, I'll move
I'm
the
just leaving it, just giving it to administration so they
recommendation.
can
I'll
change
move
it.
the recommendation.
Because it looks like they're sloughing, and I know administration would never slough.
Exactly.
Yes, I do look at these things, okay? Just, that's the only reason I brought it up.
You look at the pictures.
Of course I do.
Yeah, next time, make sure they're like, you can draw them. So then Tom
An
keeps busy.
ICF coloring book.
Yeah.
I could make a book report on a book if it had lots of pictures in it.
Yeah.
There's a motion on the floor. Any other questions or discussion regarding the ICF? All in favor? Motion is carried. Our ICF with Nihil County.
Any pictures here, Tom?
No, I don't believe there's a picture of a grain facility there.
No, it's a little more boring
Dry.
document.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure why we picking on Nihil by not having a splashy document like the other ones did.
Same comments as before.
Maybe their preference was for a more
Plain.
economically conservative
Don't print in color. Yeah, that'd be nice.
I'll move the,
For information, further to my original comment, how much time is spent on each one of these?
So through the Reeve, there's quite a bit of back and forth with senior administration, and we make a decision first to see if both councils would be willing to meet in terms of the smaller committees. Obviously, as decided through council, in order to streamline this and save cost, we are going to just circulate them between councils. And we go back and forth quite a bit in terms of what agreements are existing, what's not, any discussions that will take place in the future. A lot of the conversation right now between municipalities is we need to get this done by April 1st. There are fluid documents, so we can meet afterwards and discuss any of those, mutual aid agreements or anything that needs to come up that will arise in the future. I think this is just kind of like a check and balance for the province to say municipalities are getting along in terms of the mutually beneficial services that municipalities provide. So I would say in total, probably under a handful of hours that I spend per agreement.
Somehow we need to get it back. In a lot of cases, this was being cost for the municipalities to go through this. 15, 20 different.
Brought to us by the.
And we have, yeah.
this is NDP, yeah.
I have raised that though with the Minister of Municipal Affairs, and as well, Reeve Belkey and I both attended a red tape reduction session, and we raised this exact issue there as well, both the cost and just whether it will be a useful document at the end of the day. So.
Anyway, through that, I would like to approve for Nihil, IDP, ICF.
A motion to approve the ICF between Wheatland County and Nihil.
Yes.
All in favor? Motion is carried. And with Rocky View,
So through the Reeve, before you have an ICF for Rocky View County and Wheatland County. Just of note, and I'm scrolling to the page here for your reference. On page 232 of the agenda package, water and wastewater, implementation and funding. So both committees did meet, in fact, for a brief discussion on this ICF. And for water and wastewater, the parties may explore potential servicing opportunities as appropriate. Agreements may result. I think that's key. It's just an outlier. It's something new in addition to the other ICFs that you're approving. And I just want to bring that to Council's attention that there may be opportunities to explore servicing between Rocky View and Wheatland County.
thank you. Any questions regarding the ICF? Councillor Armstrong has moved. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. An ICF with Foothills.
On page 239 of the agenda package is the ICF RFD and document between Wheatland County and Foothills County. I did circulate an ICF to council prior to the meeting beginning. In there is just an amendment that Foothills County did notice. In addition to the logo having issues on the first page, in terms of and I'm scrolling to it for your reference here, emergency services, there is an amendment that we're not part of a mutual aid agreement or an emergency services commission between both counties. So that was amended from the document in the agenda package, and it is now representative in the supplementary package that I had distributed. So there is no agreement between both, and that's representative there. So there is a slight amendment.
I'll move the ICF as amended.
Councillor Wilson has moved. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried.
Through the chair, just going back to
And is that for that?
That was for the IDP.
IDP?
But it also related to the committee, which could apply to.
That's correct, yeah.
Good choice.
I have a question. Finding out anything more about protesting for, you have to require
Can we put spikes on
a permit?
tracks?
Not to that, but
Like
for that.
For an event? Like,
Yeah.
that's an event.
So the peace officers did look at, I mean, the city of Calgary as a best practice. And in their bylaws, there was an allusion to protesting, but not protesting verbatim. So we haven't really found out in terms of exploring bylaws that give us the authority to undertake a permitting process to do that. And also, there's another level of jurisdiction with regards to the right-of-ways and roads. You know, where the protest is happening. Is it on a provincial highway? Is it on a local road? So it's multi-layered. And my gut says more than likely, no, there's no permitting process at a municipality to hold a protest. But we can certainly bring back a report showing that if you'd like.
Just a comment. I think the best thing that a government can do is turn the other way when somebody else is going to deal with the protesters. So if there's a protest, call somebody and look the other way. Okay? Simple as that.
Why would we even want to put something in print about a protest?
I just think that they have to, first of all, notify us, know what roads are going to be blocked. We need a heads up, because these guys, they're just showing up everywhere. I think we
but
should
if
be
you-
able to do that.
But
As
shouldn't
it's our
have- We
roads.
shouldn't have something in place that gives them permission to do it either.
Oh, true, I see what you're saying, yeah.
Because the minute you have something in place to give them permission to do it, how do you stop them once they do it, even if it's wrong?
Turn the other way.
I understand.
That's,
Okay.
If you want your road cleared, let somebody else do it.
I'll add, though, that during that issue, our peace officers did work very closely with the RCMP and coordinated accordingly to provide some updates. So it was a good relationship that we had through that process.
Gotcha. Okay.
They only ran one vehicle. They sat in the RCMP's police officers. They were running that vehicle.
Oh, to save on gas,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, saving gas.
perfect. Okay,
I don't
thank you.
know, my question is, I don't know where it became legal, and years ago they did, like, slaughter plant down at Newell had one that went on for I don't know how many years, and the guy sat in a ditch in his motorhome, in his little trailer, and had his protest sign up, and he drove back and forth, but I don't know what I would do if I come upon somebody with a barricade on the highway and I'm trying to get through to go somewhere. I really, in my gut, couldn't tell you what my reaction to that would be, but it probably wouldn't be very positive.
That's why I like you, Ben.
Well, it's frustrating because I know if I go out there right now and pull my truck across that highway and protest the sun coming up in the morning or whatever the hell it is, I'm going to end up in jail that night.
Yeah, I know.
And it's frustrating because it should be the same for everybody,
But it's not.
especially on
This was frustrating.
especially on a public access to anything. Because now on the Facebook, you go on a certain page and there's directions on how to use tenonite to blow trains off a track. A group has put the directions on there on how to do that. And you can bet your boots somebody's going to do it. That just pisses me off. So, anyways,
Definitely
sorry.
a complex
Sorry about
issue
my
for
rant,
sure.
but-
Oh, you need that. Fully agree with you.
Okay,
Thank you.
we will move to Transportation and Agriculture Report. Good morning.
Morning, Council.
Morning.
Morning. So you have in front of you the GM of Transportation report for activities that occurred in February 2020. So just some highlights on it. We have a pretty light crew right now, as we do every winter. Some of the outside of the snow clearing and regular maintenance. We have tree clearing happening right now. We actually have a crew stripping some gravel pits for future crushing. So we find we get a lot of activity done on that sort of thing in the winter here. As well, for everyone's information, we're going to be putting the road bands on starting on Thursday now. Pretty similar to the same road bands we had last year. We don't see any need to increase them at this time. But they will go on March 5th and probably be in effect until breakup is complete around April or May. Some other highlights, the Gleason Arena tender was awarded to Chandos Construction. So they are going to be moving in the next few weeks, I think, to start the construction on that. Pretty much the primary goal of it is to ensure that everything's completed before the ice season in October. So we make sure that that schedule is being met. And it should go pretty smoothly. And just an update for Councillor Bigger on the whistle cessation study. So we have awarded that study for that crossing at the Carsland CP crossing. So probably about 3 weeks we'll have a result back on if we can move forward and have CP at least review our case. We pretty much have to come to them with an engineering report ahead of time to be able to have them review it on their own. So as I said before, it is a very long process on this. And that's my report.
Did you find anything out about the gravel and flat tires?
We did quite a bit of investigation on that. We looked at some of the crushing results that we had on that gravel, trying to track it down from where it came to see if there's anything different. Through the chair, what Councillor Wilson's speaking of is the flat tires that were occurring on Township 232, just east of the highway there, about a month and a half ago, I think. So we had laid some gravel that the season prior. Truthfully, we didn't find anything different in the fracture results. The gravel gradation was the same on that. We actually did a little bit more analysis with the current gravel on there, and yeah, there's a little bit pockets of perhaps some sharper looking gravel. So I think they've regraded that to this time now, and hopefully like I say, it's never come up before that I'm aware of. So we'll keep an eye on it and see if it happens again.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Through the Reeve, nothing that I know of. I believe most of the training is done in-house. And to my knowledge, I don't know how many grants that we receive for fire training. In the past, I don't believe too many off the top of my head. We usually don't fund through training. I think we always look for them, but I don't think we've been very successful. One to note, we had one for emergency, but not for fire, was that livestock one that we held at the county office a couple days ago, or maybe, sorry, a couple weeks ago. As for fire, I'm not quite sure. I'll take a look into that one.
I know a couple of years ago when Judy was pushing training.
Any other questions? A motion to accept his information.
I'll move.
Councillor Eichert has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. Environmental program update.
So everyone in your package, and then also handed a hard copy out this morning of our Environmental and Ag Department's program update. I encourage you to read this. It's actually a really well put together document. Kind of highlights a lot of pretty much the excellent job that our environmental crew has done looking at the environmental friendly initiatives that we've kind of implemented here in the county. It goes all the way through from the erosion and sediment control measures that we put through on some of our road projects. Looks at a lot of the workshops that we've done, the I Love Wheatland Water, that sort of thing. Really well done. So this will be available at the front end here just for any ratepayers that want to review the benefits that the county gives on environmental stewardship.
How often, what's the schedule once we're finished the road program? How often after the project is completed does that? Commenting on it because it's.
Yeah. And that's speaking to the silt fence and silk curtains and that sort of thing. Basically, there's no set parameters on timeline. It is when the vegetation has taken and the erosion is looked at to be eliminated. So we usually look at about 1.5 to 2 years to be certain on these sort of things. And we have started lately actually implementing a program to go back out and remove some of these silt fences even from quite old jobs. It's not so much the fabric. The fabric is biodegradable for the most part. It's the stakes that usually cause issue with farming activities and that sort of thing. So, yeah. A lot of the stuff that we use is biodegradable, yes. Yeah.
1,000 years.
Through the Reeve as well, if there are any specific areas that any plastic or silt fences are concerned for ratepayers, if you could just get them to just forward it to staff, and then we can address the concerns too. So,
Just reading through the environmental program updates. We have a water rebate program, County of Wheatland.
Yep.
About how much money a year do we spend on that? Is there any way we track that?
through the Reeve, we do record it. It is recorded in, I just believe, Water General. It's under an expense. I don't have the exact number off the top of my head. It's not significant in the overall budget, but I can definitely follow up.
Can we eliminate that? How do I go about getting that eliminated? Because it seems to be a lot of paperwork.
I believe it's just as simple as a council resolution to eliminate the program.
Hey, that. Thank you.
I think this is an incredibly well-done document that outlines incredibly good practices. So I'm very proud of the work that this department's been doing and that they highlight it so well. I think it's excellent. Something to be proud of for sure. Please thank them. And thank you.
So where does this go from here? Is it sent to
It's
everybody?
available here
It's
for
just
people
available
to
here?
pick
What
up.
about sending it out? Is that doable?
We usually bring it to workshops and that sort of thing just to distribute there. I don't think we want to send it
We'll
to
have it
every
at the AGM.
ratepayer, but
For the
For all 8 people?
hordes of people that come.
Just FYI.
Horrible toilet paper. Just FYI.
Yeah. FYI, that we worked on this map, finally got it done. Long, horrible process, but it actually doesn't look too bad.
This one here?
Yeah. Shows the areas that we want to focus our Alice projects in, any sort of environmental project. Dark brown being the best, purple being the worst.
Excellent. A motion to accept as information.
We'll move.
Councillor Wilson has moved. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor? Motion is carried. Cost sharing request for the intersection at Highway 901 and 817.
Okay, so this request for decision comes from a resolution at the February 18th council meeting requesting that we investigate the previous interactions with Alberta Transportation on Highway 901 and Highway 817 lighting. So basically in my recent correspondence with Transportation, they have alluded that this project is going to be, the actual construction of the intersection is delayed a number of years. So we looked at, can we do some interim measures by installing some temporary lighting at that intersection? We actually had, you'll see in the package here, an assessment or an appraisal done, estimate done about 2 years ago on cost on it. And it's approximately $40,000, $30,000 for construction and $10,000 for engineering to have this completed. So I did read, sorry?
The operational costs would be very low,
No, yeah, they'll be minimal, yeah.
but Alberta Transportation would be willing to do that.
So that, this request here, I've been reaching out to transportation, but I haven't got a formal response yet, if they're willing to even review this. So I think with the resolution, we can move forward and look at a 50-50 cost share from basically whatever the end costs are on this. We can at least start at a 50-50. That's pretty much their past practice is to go with that cost split. So I think it's appropriate to put forward in this request.
I think it's a great idea.
So I'll move that Wheeland County Council approve submitting a request to Alberta Transportation to cost share the installation of lighting at the intersection of 901 and 817. The funding would cost share a 50-50 ratio between Wheeland County and Alberta Transportation.
Any further questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Correspondence included in the package, a follow-up letter from Minister Nixon with the Office of Alberta Environment and Parks, and a draft agreement between the Drumheller and District Solid Waste Management Association and the participating municipalities.
Just on the solid waste, it's not a big deal, but on page 286, Wheeland County's not listed as one of the ones. There's a signing line for further down, but Wheeland County's not mentioned on.
We're on the next page.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my apologies.
We get our own page.
You put pictures in there and they'll pay better attention.
Through the Reeve.
I actually looked across there and I did not see that at the top of the page. So.
Through the Reeve, just to note, the correspondence was included for the Drumheller and District Solid Waste. So they need to borrow funds for replacement of TransDoors, ones that are aging. So there is an option of an early buyout that the county would just pay up front, or we could technically borrow the funds through this thing, which would just be into an annual payment. However, the funds that the interest rate is 2.35%, and it financially just wouldn't make sense for the county to pay up front. It would make more sense financially just to do it on an annual basis. So.
It's set up as quarterly payment.
I believe so. I haven't had a really good chance to look at this document, but the interest rate financially makes more sense for the county just to pay it through the loan of the Drumheller and District Solid Waste. I'll take a look to see if there's any requirement for a lending or a borrowing bylaw, but I don't think there would be. But I'll double check into that and get back to council.
That'd be great. Thank you.
So we need signed copies back by the.
We need a motion for the agreement.
Yes. However, I'll bring this back on March 24th to the council meeting and then just have it included in the agenda and just a RFD for it.
Sounds
So
good.
just receive this kind of just before the council. Just wanted to kind of throw it in there just as correspondence.
Perfect.
I'll move that we accept the correspondence as information.
All in favor? Motion is carried. I'll move us into closed session. All in favor? Motion is carried.